Do I hear any motions to amend the current appointment selection criteria? All right, hearing none, we are now in line for deliberations. In keeping with precedent, we will allot 3 minutes of deliberation for every open seat. So for example, the Judiciary Committee Chair seat, there's 1 seat for that, so it gets 3 minutes. There are 2 open seats for budget, so we will have 6 minutes to deliberate on budget. So we will begin with the open off-campus seat for 3 minutes, beginning, I should probably time this myself. For 3 minutes, beginning now for open off-campus.
Okay, so if you haven't traditionally been on this committee, just someone jumps in and starts.
Yep.
So I will start in and highlight 3 in particular that I really thought were good, and then you guys can talk about whatever. So I really enjoyed Berkeley Morris's interview, Isabella Flores's interview, and where did it go? Maverick Epstein's interview. I thought that their ideas were excellent, their experiences were excellent, and I particularly liked their general focus on like hearing feedback from the student body, tabling during campaign in general. I think like that tabling experience, regardless of any type of affiliation, is really valuable just because that is like you explicitly making effort to outreach, and the 3 of those really touched on that. Any other ideas?
Yeah, I also really liked Isabella Flores. I liked Arshawn, and I also liked Morris as well. I really liked Morris' ideas. All 3 of them really had really good ideas, I believe, especially for the off-campus constituency.
So just to kind of going off of that, I personally really liked Morgan. I thought Jerome might have had the best interview, and then also what was his name?
You were here for
Nicholas.
Mavericks.
I wasn't
Yeah.
for Mavericks. So.
Nicholas Penza. As for Maverick's interview specifically though, sorry, I'm on his like first interview, here's his second interview. I thought his specific stuff about like his experience with like different things all across the world, even like Krakow, Poland, was really cool. But then his actual ideas about like working with class councils for those that are transitioning in, the puppies and dogs coming onto campus, like he kind of had a really good kind of understanding that legislation has been passed about certain things, so like historical background, but then also that it wasn't implemented. And he talked about ways and discussions on how to implement things, and I think that's really important because a lot of senators may write the resolutions, but they don't actually go about the actual process. So.
I was gonna say, like, the thing that I liked the most about Maverick's interview was that his emphasis was on actualizing the stuff that he wanted to do, and his ideas were like absolutely fantastic. I'm going to skip over Berkeley's interview, talk about Isabella. She also mentioned that she's able to actualize or like specific ways that she's going to actualize the stuff that she wants to do, like specifically within the rights union, having that student package, such a good idea. Like I know from firsthand experience.
Yeah.
And she talked about like actually ways of getting that into action. So I liked Isabella's ideas more. I liked Maverick's emphasis on how he was going to implement things, but because Isabella also talked about how she was going to get stuff done, then, you know, I kind of like her the most.
All right, that is time. Just for clarification, by precedent, how much should I be speaking during deliberations? None?
When I was chair, I never spoke because...
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with that precedent.
Yeah.
All right. So I hear any motions at this time?
No.
No? Are we going through all of them first?
I mean, it's up to you. We can do a motion.
Oh, I was just going off. Yeah, I was going to do it
Okay,
seat by seat.
let's do it.
Okay. Do I hear any motions at this time?
For off campus or
For, yeah, the open off-campus seat.
like to, okay.
I'm
Recommend
to-
somebody?
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I would like to recommend Maverick Epstein.
I object.
That motion's been objected to.
Okay, basically how it works is you say, like, I move to recommend
Okay.
Isabella Flores for the one open off-campus seat by unanimous consent. So you have to say like by whatever
Unanimous
threshold.
consent, yeah.
And then Aaron is going to say, there's been a motion to whatever. And then, like, yeah.
All right. Are there any other motions?
I have a motion.
Senate President Seifert.
I move to recommend Isabella Flores for the open off-campus seat by unanimous consent. Do I hear any objections?
Are you asking if you hear objections?
Sorry, guys.
There's an emotion to
I've
approve
been a
Isabella
chair for
Flores
so long. I've been chair for
for the
so
open
long.
off-campus seat by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes.
I don't want to object. But
Okay, that was just an example. Like, as Senate President, the goal is that I don't, like,
Okay, yeah.
because my responsibility here is to ensure that the agenda is correct and also, like, to have a say, but, like, you know, I would hate for someone to join Senate only to find out that the Senate President was, like, partial one way or another, so I'm not gonna do more, but that was just an example.
All good.
Okay.
Thank you. So, I motion to put this person in XYZ seat by unanimous consent.
Yeah, and then
You
if
can
anyone
say
has an objection, someone can object, and then if you would like to just remake the motion anyway, you can say follow up and move to remake that motion not by unanimous consent,
Sounds good.
and then that is also doable. But
Alright.
that's what the debate is for, like, the debate is to gauge, like, how other people feel, and, like, by the end of the debate, you should have, like, a consensus on who you're approving.
Alright, we're now in line for deliberations, 3 minutes of deliberations on the open Budget and Appropriations Committee chair seat.
Chair.
That begins now.
I think Maya had a wonderful interview, and her idea, the fact that she spent 3 minutes on her specific ideas and had such a great knowledge of the specific codes all the way from 808.10 to 808.12 and how they literally just got passed, I think she's kind of the best fit for the job.
Was she the only applicant?
Yes.
Okay, I have nothing to say then.
Yeah, I mean, I could add to Rafe, I guess. I think Maya had a great interview as well. Like he mentioned, her knowing the codes, especially these past two that just got amended recently, and how she wishes to make sure that every student org knows about these codes. I think it's great, and I think she's the best for this position.
Is there any more deliberations? Hearing none, we're now in line for any motions at this time.
I move to recommend Maya Idigula for the open budget committee chair by unanimous consent.
Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. We are now in line for 3 minutes of deliberation for the open Judiciary Committee chair seat, beginning now.
Yeah, so I think Matthew Bravo honestly has a wealth of kind of experience and has been in the committee for over 10 months and on 2 separate occasions being the vice chair over the summer and also now. I think he kind of has a wealth of experience and also kind of the best experience to be the judiciary chairman, so I think he's a great candidate.
Yeah, I think his work in Senate speaks for itself. I think we all know what Matthew's capable of, and I think he would be best for the seat.
Yeah, honestly, his experience was fantastic. His interview was more brief, but also, first of all, he was the only applicant, and second of all, he has the most, by far, experience actually sitting through a number of really important proceedings and procedures, particularly ones that occur over summer. And I know that he's been the general facilitator within the Senate, or like the person who stands up and says, if you have legislation, come to the Judiciary meeting, defend your bill. And I really like that he's trying to bridge the gap between like the actual Senate body and the committee as a whole. And I think that he would do a fantastic job as chair, especially, you know, with like making sure that individuals feel comfortable coming to the committee and that there's transparency in the committee.
Are there any more deliberations? Hearing none, we're now in line for any motions at this time.
I motion to approve, I motion to recommend, I motion to approve Matthew Bravo for the open judiciary chairman seat by unanimous consent.
Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. We are now in line for 3 minutes of deliberation on the open information and communication committee chair seat. Starting now.
Oh, wait,
The legend.
I see.
Yeah.
Absolute legend.
Yeah, I mean, Crystal, and there's no one better than Crystal
Live and die by the codes.
by this chair, so.
I think we should just there's no questions asked.
Yeah, we can like briefly touch on her interview. I like that she's made so many adjustments to INC already, and just like her philosophy on how she approaches being chair, and like that she's trying to like bridge the gap between like the general student body and the Senate as a whole. And then not only has she showed us that she can already do that, but she's presented even more ideas that go beyond that. So like it's amazing that even though she's already like had a term, she still has like more. I really liked her Reels for Resolution idea, especially because I always try to emphasize like giving credit where credit is due. Like if a senator does something in particular, there's no reason why they shouldn't be recognized for it, and like that recognition or like that satisfaction of knowing that like you're doing this good thing for the student body should be a really great incentive for even more people to do stuff. I think it's gonna do wonders for the productivity of the chamber.
All I gotta add to that is I'm surprised she wants to deal with us again. So,
All right, after any more deliberations, seeing none, we're now in line for any motions at this time.
I move to recommend Crystal Felix for the open INC chair position.
Are there any objections?
By unanimous consent, sorry.
Hearing none, that motion passes.
So we have to choose one. Are we doing approve or recommend? Because when we say the word approve, that's our committee effectively recommending them. So we need to choose one so Aaron knows what to write.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, approve.
All right.
I like recommend.
Okay, recommend. Recommend.
I prefer recommend. It's what we did in Judiciary.
Okay,
Yeah.
recommend.
Whatever you want, Chair.
All right, let me just update the minutes then. All right, we are now in line for 3 minutes of deliberation on the Open Rules and Ethics Committee chair seat, beginning now.
Okay.
I love you, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that, first of all, her experience is kind of one of a kind, just being on R&E the entire time that she's been in Senate since last summer, so that's amazing. She kind of earned her merit by, being promoted to vice chair of the R&E committee, so I think she definitely has the most and best experience for this role. And I also really liked her ideas about, just honestly, this is very simple, but sitting down with the actual committee members that just got appointed and teaching them kind of the ropes of that specific position, just because it's, I think, pretty tough to understand all of the codes and rules and regulations and procedures that come with that, the R&E committee. So yeah, really liked her interview and her merit.
Yeah, I agree. I think the fact that she was able to, as vice chair some meetings as well is very important. I do like her ideas. I like how she wants to have certain committee members get assigned senators so they can reach out to them personally and let them know if they're missing any constituencies or whatnot. Yeah, I think she's the one for this position.
All right, is there any more deliberations? Hearing none, we're now in line for a motion this time.
I motion to recommend Mia Filaramo for the open R&E chairwoman's chair seat by unanimous consent.
Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. We are now in line for 6 minutes of deliberation on the 2 open Budget and Appropriations committee seats.
Yeah.
So I'll sort of beginning now.
So I think 3 applicants really stood out to me when it comes to the budget. That's gonna be Marco Salvador, Anjani Sharma, and Jordan and Tebi. And honestly, maybe even Zach, but I'll just go over them really quickly. For Zach, I really liked how he has cabinet experience and talked about overfunded versus kind of limited funding, and how he has experience in both kind of avenues, and how he kind of really wants to optimize the budget and see how he can allocate efficiently. For Jordan and Tebi, I really liked kind of his actual real world experience with nonprofit work, and also just understanding the investment kind of arena around the world. I thought that was really cool. And he's interviewed so many times, and I think all of his ideas kind of are very very pertinent to the budget committee seat. For Marco, I think his experience as MLP kind of assistant finance director is really cool, and understanding DocuTrack is very important, especially with his ideas as well. With BOP, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, BOP is a terrible name, but I like him. I like the budget oversight program idea because it shows that he's tracking what budget is actively doing. Because the code revision that basically states that you don't receive funding if you don't use up to 75% of your, or maybe it's 50.
It's
75.
75, but it's new,
That is totally new, and
Yep.
I know that he's relatively, he's not totally new to Senate, but he's one of the newer senators, and so I genuinely appreciate that he was able to track that, and that he was able to even know that that was happening, especially not being on the budget committee before. I just thought that was impressive, but please continue.
No, wonderful. Thank you for that insight, Julia. And then just lastly, going to Anjani. Well, no, I'm serious. Lastly, going to Anjani, I really think her nonprofit work is quite frankly, very impressive. Especially just being in Senate for such a short amount of time and having all of the experience that she has is really cool to see. And then also her ideas, unfortunately, I think they're very good. I've just heard them a couple times before, which is kind of why I would prefer kind of Marco or Jordan or even Zach over maybe Anjani.
I agree with you. You want to go, Julia?
No.
I agree with you, Rafael, on a few. I really like Marco. I like Jordan. I also like Jacob Eisenberg. I think his experience with working on budget for his summer camp in the past and big event, FLC, I think that really contributes to a lot. Jordan, on the other hand, I like how he explained how he tracks like the market and how he knows how to really budget his money, which will ultimately help the committee as a whole in general. I also like his ideas to have workshops and teach students how to manage a budget in these orgs. And then Marco, Bob idea. I think it's a great name, by the way. I'm just kidding, but yeah, I think that's a great. I think that's a great idea. I think we, as a committee, one of our biggest responsibilities is to make sure that as many student orgs get funding. So by making sure that we reach out to them before they get penalized, I think that would be great.
Yeah, I feel like out of the four that were mentioned, Zach, Anjani, Jordan, and Marco, I feel like the two that emphasized reaching out to orgs explicitly before they reach out to us were Marco and Jordan.
Yeah.
And that's something that I appreciate. So, we have 2 minutes left, which is more than enough time, but I feel like if we're coming to a consensus, because we had a lot of applicants, those are the people who I liked for this position in particular. I know there's 2 seats open.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we have 2 that we all agree on.
Okay.
Motion to previous question.
There must be a vote. Seeing as there's no more deliberations, we're now on to motion this time.
I motion to wait. Can I recommend people now?
Yes.
If you think we're all on the same
Also-
page,
Yeah.
you can just do 2 names.
Please say I move. Not
Yeah.
I motion.
My bad. My bad, Judiciary Chairman.
What did you say?
I was like a stickler about it. I got really frustrated.
Okay, I apologize. I move to recommend Marco Salvador and Jordan Antebi for the Open Budget and Appropriations Committee seat by unanimous consent.
Are
For
there
the
any,
2 open seats, right?
Yes.
are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. We are now in line for 3 minutes of deliberations on the Open Judiciary Committee seat, beginning now.
Off the bat, I really liked Abigail. I think she had a great interview. I think her experience with student justice in the traffic court, her research paper that was published, I think that would be beneficial to the Judiciary Committee as a whole. And then her ideas of comparing her idea to the budget bash with those legislative fair days. I think that's a really good idea, honestly.
I had other favorite interviews, but hers was the most, she had an ideas sheet, and my opinion was the ideas were the most, like thought out. She had different columns basically describing how exactly she was gonna do it and why people need it. And she bounced off what other committees did to better improve the Judiciary Committee, which is like Judish has very much increased their interaction with the Senate chamber, which I really appreciate, and it's been awesome. But I feel like in relation to other committees, not as much, and that's not something that we've really thought of or had the initiative of doing. So the fact that she did that has been great. I have no qualms with this recommendation.
Yeah, so just really quickly, I personally really liked Maya Doonan, Hughes Putnam, and Abigail Melamad. But
It's Adam Putnam.
oh,
It's
I
okay.
think,
He has
he
two.
goes by Hughes
I
though.
think he goes by Adam.
He told me to call him Hughes.
Really? Because he corrected us? What? Okay, whatever.
That's
Continue.
crazy. My bad. I don't know that. I'm confused now.
We'll ask him again.
Yeah, we should. Anyways, I guess kind of just going off what everybody else has said though. Abigail Melamad specifically, I liked spending the entire day on constitutionality and legality, even with the tricky format, and like I thought that was a great idea to like have a kind of a forum so that everybody can come together and talk about those things. So yeah, no qualms, and I completely agree with that recommendation.
I wasn't here for Putnam interview, however, I'm looking at notes and it says, looked over legislation and talked to constituents already.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Adam,
Wow.
I mentioned Abigail because I thought she was
Yeah.
over the rest, but Adam was
I
also
agree.
very good.
Okay.
Yeah, a very close second, I'd say.
Is there any more deliberations? Hearing none, we're now in line for motions.
I move to recommend Abigail Melamad for the open Judiciary Committee seat by unanimous consent.
Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Making sure I'm spelling everyone's names right.
You can
Yes.
go for it.
Okay. All right, we're now in line for the open Rules and Ethics Committee seat. 3 minutes of deliberation beginning now.
Rules and ethics?
Mhm.
Okay, you're gonna have to give me a couple seconds.
Actually, I'm not
Why
gonna
don't
start.
you begin until when
I'm
you
not
start
gonna
talking?
begin until you start the deliberations.
Okay, sounds good.
I think that some of the triple committee interviews that we had were amazing, and they didn't get the recognition. Julia Pascoe and Hannah Lockwood, first of all. I think that Hannah Lockwood's though, like I really liked her emphasis on service involved. Like, okay, that's my whole thing. I always love when people want service in the Senate and use a committee to help them do it, and I think that Hannah Lockwood did it very well. Unfortunately, her ideas were
Slim.
like, she mentioned something about like not having engineers on committees, which is untrue, and like I just think maybe she needs another like couple months in the Senate just to learn like how things are done, because that was just not true. And then for Julia Pascoe, I loved it. I think that her idea for like the newsletter being sent out to the student body is like, we already do that for the students who sign up for it, but I think this is just like a little wake up call for us that we maybe should be advertising that in a different way, because she just didn't know it exists. So again, like another couple of months on Senate, but I wanted to throw their name out there because I know there's only one seat for this position. I don't think either of them should get it, but I just wanted to recognize their interviews.
No, I agree with Julia. I really like Julia.
Is there one?
I
There's
thought it was two.
One.
For
Already?
Arnie. Okay,
Correct.
sorry.
I like Julia's. I like Andrew Sabadash. I also like Maya. I think it's Doonan.
Yep.
Doonan's interview. I like all three of them. Andrew specifically, his ideas, the regular constituency opportunity announcements. A lot of times we don't know when there's constituency available, so we wait till last minute a lot of the time. So maybe by publishing this more often, we can come to our senses and get these done quicker. And then also maybe not only just fulfill it, but go beyond that and attend more constituency opportunities.
Can someone elaborate on the media literacy course? If not, that's okay, because I think that's a fantastic idea. I just was not here.
I think he
He mentioned
has his ideas
Oh.
right.
he mentioned during his time as a Florida Cicerone.
Yeah, that's what I was
um,
gonna.
Yeah, I'm a Florida Cicerone, so I'm gonna say we get a media literacy like workshop where they let us know like what we can do, what we can't post, how we should act when we are representing
I'm
the
sold.
cicerones. So as a senator, you know, if you want to put UF Senate in your bio, you need to make sure that you are representing UF Senate as it should be represented.
So, for me, completely wanted to just second what Julia had mentioned about Hannah Lockwood and Julia Pascoe. I loved their interviews and ideas, I love their interviews and experience, but I don't think their ideas were fleshed out. As for Andrew Sabadash, I really liked his experience when he talks about the joint committee and censure kind of
He
thing.
was there.
And then also his kind of idea sheet, I think, was kind of the most thought out and detailed, and I think that's kind of why.
I'm in agreement.
Yeah.
Alright. That is the end of the time. We're now in line for the motions.
I move to recommend Andrew Sabadash for the Open Rules and Ethics Committee seat.
Are there any
Unanimous.
objections? Seeing none, the motion passes.
Hey.
What's up?
How was it?
It's good. I need to like not talk for.
Hey guys.
Type.
Rough, when you said, I totally agree, Julia. I think it sounds like the start of like a discussion post I actually wrote.
Sorry, y'all. I'm serious, but I totally
Just
agree.
We're almost done.
Julia, you said so many good things. I agree with all of them.
Muy bien. That's what all of my Spanish replies to discussion posts sound like. Muy bien.
Me too.
You too.
Alright,
Are there any more donuts?
Yeah.
No.
No, P.
Take them all. Eat all three of them.
Are you calling me fat or?
Okay,
What?
let's continue.
on the record?
He's
Oh.
recording us.
There's 2 recordings going on.
Yeah, he's recording us.
I don't think you're actually in it though.
Hey guys, it's Star
Thanks,
Agency
Tyler.
head TSC.
Oh yeah, are any members of the public please
TSE
state your
Cypher.
name for the record?
Yes, if Victoria Tiazzi is in the room.
Star
Hey.
Agency Head. TSE.
I prefer chairwoman TSC thing.
Oh.
Technically that's incorrect according to the codes.
Technically, whatever.
But you can thank Hunter Monson for that one. Okay. We are now in line for 6 minutes of deliberation for the 2 open Information Communication Committee seats. Whenever y'all begin.
So, okay, actually, no, never mind. Give me a second.
So, like, I feel like I don't think that we had any bad interviews. I just think that there were interviews that, like, definitely those particular senators need more experience in Senate because, like, again, Julia and Hannah had, that's really funny because my first name is Julia and my middle name is Hannah, had fantastic interviews for the position that is also INC along with those other positions, but they just need more time in Senate.
Yeah.
So I'm not even gonna address it again, but yeah.
If I wanted to kind of touch on that, Alessandro, I think, had a wonderful interview, especially in regards to his actual professional experience in PR. Only withhold I had from him and why I'm not gonna be probably recommending him is I think he got his technicals wrong.
He did. Yeah.
Just because he didn't know the exact answer. So, you know, based off kind of that committee precedent, unfortunately, I thought he was one of the best applicants, but didn't get that right. So.
Okay.
As for another kind of recommendation, Emma Jabor, I think her ideas about like more frequently keeping people up and updated things it was nice, and then also like I thought it was kind of refreshing to hear some new innovative ideas, like even in regards to like she can say the word, but like polling on our Instagram or on our social media in regards to legislation or what people want to see. I thought it was very, very good idea that we could definitely implement.
I also want to recommend Catherine Zervadakis. I think her experience, it was more in the high school level, but working with Canva to make announcements and being a senator in high school, being a liaison between the student body and administration, I think that goes hand in hand with what she's going to do in INC. And also her ideas, I really like her idea to collab with the pro tem to plan more events for senators to attend. So more work for you, Erin.
You're gonna
But
need to ask the pro tem first.
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, I like those ideas.
Yeah.
I wanted to recommend her.
Okay, like, I feel like I missed Catherine's interview, but she's interviewed for this position before, so I've seen it, so I, like, generally know what it consists of, assuming it hasn't changed a significant amount. I think the most important thing that I see here that she has not mentioned before that I think is fantastic is delegating members of committee to actually do that outreach to the members of the Senate, to facilitate a number of things. Like, I don't think just a simple chair announcement is sufficient for a lot of things. Not for everything, but for things that people like are really continuously like struggling with, and that's an issue that we saw in rules, an issue that we saw in Judish, which we spoke about for Matthew, an issue that Mia in her, well, I'm not gonna compare candidates, but it's for a totally different seat. Mia, like, she's working to fix for rules. So yeah, I have no issue with Catherine Zervadakis for an INC seat. I think that is a fantastic and much needed thing, and so yeah, that's one. And then the only other one that we spoke about was Emma Jabor, so I'm going to there. I really liked her like polling on the Instagram. You know, I've heard that idea before, we just haven't done it, so
Maybe she
like I wouldn't say that it's a completely original idea, but at the same time, like, she did apply for 3 committees.
Yeah.
So I do understand, you know, not feeling like she has a lot of time to answer this, but at the same time, like, I don't know, she's done consistently good work, and I think that her idea for rules and INC kind of can be combined and go back to what would be beneficial on the INC committee. I think that she kind of like gave an INC based rules for, or INC based idea for rules and ethics, and so like she's combining her knowledge of the committees without even knowing she's doing it.
It's facts.
Any more deliberation?
I don't think she would.
Seeing none, we're now in line for any motions.
I move to recommend both Emma Jabor and, hold up, let me lock it, Catherine Zervadakis for the 2 open information and communication committee seats by unanimous consent.
Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes.
I think we're done,
I used
right?
to pray
Right.
for times like this.
Okay.
Thanks so much for letting me use your computer charger, by the way, because I would have been feeding it this entire time.
Alright, so seeing as there are no more open committee seats, or there was no application for the open veterinary medicine seat, we are now in line to create the agenda for this upcoming Senate meeting.
Yeah.
Do I hear any motions at this time?
Seeing as there's no legislation, I motion to add emergency replacements to the agenda. I move by unanimous consent.
Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Follow
Follow-up?
I also move to add unexcused and excused absences to the agenda.
Bye.
Unanimous consent.
Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. Quick question, same thing as approved failed absences.
So
We
I
changed it?
just changed it.
Okay.
Like, I literally don't care. It's the approved and unapproved absences sounds really stupid in my opinion. So I just changed it on the agenda. It's like, I don't think it matters in the codes what we call it, as long as it's there,
I like
which
yours
I
better.
believe is changing anyways.
Okay. What's the phrasing for adding the emergency replacement?
Moves to add all emergency replacement senators under replacement and agenda recommendations by unanimous consent. Emergency replacement recommendations. Or candidates or something. Recommendations of candidates.
Thank y'all so much for guiding, especially Julia, like guiding us, because like
Appreciate
even
it.
though
Don't you worry.
I've watched a couple RNAs at this point, but I still haven't I don't think been completely accustomed.
Are there any other motions at this time?
Okay, and then you can do this next time. I recommend, basically, I move to make a special rule to hear all excused and unexcused absences as a block by unanimous consent.
I should have done that.
Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Follow up.
Follow-up.
I move to make all of the nominees for all 4 of the chair position, or I move to add a special rule to hear all the nominees for the 4 different chair positions as a block by unanimous consent.
Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Does anyone want anything else as a block? Because that's something that we're able to do.
We can. I don't think we need to make the the approved and failed applicants, you just made a block, right?
Yeah, I did.
So then no, I don't
And then
think
the
so.
chairs, they're only applicants, so, like, I
think that's fine by doing it by block, that's fine.
I honestly agree with that. Cause there were a ton of applicants for all this other stuff.
Do we still need to, set the time and date of the Senate, or do we not do that anymore?
At the beginning of the semester, I believe that we set the time and date for all Senate meetings to be 7:30 in the Senate chamber, but I don't remember if the language is the start of the new term or not, so let's just remake it.
Yeah, okay, so should I say from this term till summer, or?
You can say like, I move to set the time and date of all Senate meetings for this term.
Yeah, okay. Ready, Aaron?
Yep.
I move to set the time and date of all Senate meetings within this term to be on Tuesday at 7:30 in the Senate chamber by unanimous consent.
Good thinking.
Did we make an exception for spring break
With,
or no?
I feel like,
Just say during school, during the academic calendar.
Yeah, yeah,
can I, do I like object to my own thing and
you could just say during the academic calendar.
during the academic calendar, just for the recorder's kind of privilege?
Okay. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. Just for the sake of,
For the record.
these minutes and stuff, I think we should have motions to add approved legislation from judiciary and budget, even though there is none. Just so it's there.
I disagree.
Yeah, I don't think
Sure.
we need it on
Okay, so we're not doing either of
Like
those.
if we know for a fact that they didn't meet, you
That's
know,
fair.
They didn't meet.
yeah.
Alright. Are there any more motions at this time?
I move to adopt the agenda by unanimous consent.
Are there any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Now I understand this, I didn't know.
Yes. Yeah.
I adjourn this meeting at 3:24 PM Sunday, March 9th.